Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
What are you doing there? Careful, getting a little too high. Careful. See what happens when you take too much risk?
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, best-selling author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
If I had to guess, few of you watching this show have ever taken a class on the subject of greed, or more broadly stated, the idea that we humans can quickly be obsessed with wanting more and more of this, that, or the other, with little regard to the potential fallout our obsessive desire for more can bring upon us. The Greek mythological character Icarus knew a thing or two about the obsession of putting himself at risk in return for wanting more than he needed. Trapped on the Isle of Crete, Icarus and his father needed a way of escape, so what did Icarus's crafty father do? But of all things, construct outfits that Icarus could wear, a set of wings made of wax. But before Icarus can fly away, his father issues two important warnings. Number one, since these wings are held together by wax, don't fly too near to the sun or they'll melt. And then secondly, he informed Icarus, don't fly too low toward the seas, because if you do, your wings will stick together, which either option resulting in death. In other words, Icarus, just stay the course and you'll be fine. But since Icarus is human and wanting to test the waters, he becomes more and more arrogant and confident in his new set of wings, soaring higher and higher and closer to hot old Mr. Sun. I guess the thrill of flying with a set of new wings was just too much, and well, as probably guessed it, those pushing the limits, Icarus too ended up a little close to the sun and crashing and burning. Something we certainly don't want to do with our money. Well, welcome folks to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, financial wing building specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And before we get started, let me introduce the producer of our show, none other than my high-flying sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orender, along with his co-pilots, Mr. Derek Hudson and Miss Amelia Johnson. Okay, we record this program, speaking of risk and uncertainty, on Election Day, November 3rd, 2020. So why of all topics would I discuss a Greek mythological character by the name of Icarus and his ignoring of the warnings from his father? Because just like Icarus, as you'll learn today, if you're not careful, you can fly too high with your money, putting it in danger, or worse yet, taking the opposite approach and never getting off the ground, something we call complacency, which in either case ends up not helping towards a worry-free retirement. You see, folks, whether it's putting our money at risk by gambling it all in the stock market, or going the opposite direction and earning next to nothing on our local bank CDs, what I've discovered over the years in visiting with thousands upon thousands of savers is there's a fine line between taking too much risk or taking the exact opposite approach of being too complacent. This is why today we will explore why savers flying solo may not be in such a good situation in retirement, and also being too obsessed with their money and trying to make more on it. I'm Tony Walker. You stay tuned. I'll be right back. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. Looking to roll over your 401k? Then log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and learn just how easy it is to roll over and safeguard your 401k. Do it today. You know, if you're like most Americans, your 401k is your single largest asset. And while the 401k is a great savings tool, it's actually a very lousy planning tool. Your 401k may have a lot of money inside it, but the 401k is not a retirement strategy. Retirement is not just about rolling your 401k over into another financial product. Heck, anybody can do that. What you should consider is not just where the 401k will be invested or rolled over to, but what is the actual strategy behind using and enjoying this money that took all your working life to create. At Tony Walker Financial, not only do you get the experience of someone who has personally overseen thousands of 401k rollovers, but also an experienced team of service experts to be sure you get the most out of your 401k, not only now, but for the rest of your life. So don't leave your retirement to chance by rolling over your 401k to just anybody. Work with us to see the difference between the worry-free retirement and how it can work for you. Regardless of whether you're retired, retiring soon, or maybe have a 401k plan from a previous employer, or if you're over the age of 59 and a half, we can help you build a strategy around your 401k that includes mailbox money for life. Call us now for a no-obligation review of your situation at 877-499-9255.
The stock market at my age? You gotta be kidding. I need to put my money someplace where it's safe.
Investing all of your money in the stock market can be pretty scary stuff, which is why I created the worry-free split IRA concept, a concept that allows you to invest in the stock market without the fear of running out of money. Learn more about the split IRA concept and how to safeguard more of your money by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, and as I kind of look at this little graphic that our own Derek Hudson created in Adobe After Effects, if you look real closely here, folks, that's Icarus, but he doesn't have normal wings. These are wings of dollar bills, and if you notice, those dollar bills are starting to break apart, and that's kind of what happens to your money as you fly along, right? The winds of change, you have inflation, taxes, fees, risk, and uncertainty all pushing against your money, and as you're flying, you got to keep it level. You don't want to get too high or too low. So let's take a look at what most people do. Most people either fly in different extremes. They stay up here at Wall Street or they stay down here with the banks. One of the products we've introduced into the mix for savers is something called a fixed indexed annuity. Now, why did we do that? Because fixed indexed annuities have the opportunity for sailing to new heights without any risk. It's a wonderful product, and by the way, one you can check out. We just got a brand new booklet we wrote called Annuities Made Easy. Our own Amelia Johnson put this together, and it is a humdinger. It's on the website at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. It'll allow you to learn more about these products called fixed indexed annuities. We drop down to the next level. These are called fixed interest annuities. Now again, folks, this show is being recorded on November 3rd, 2020, but we have very short-term annuities, currently some of them paying well over 2%, a whole lot better than the bank CDs, and these rates currently are guaranteed, so guaranteed principal with some very competitive interest rates to boot. And then as we drop down, we see CDs, which therein lies the problem. So for many of you savers over the years used to make 5, 6, 7%, you can't do that anymore. In fact, getting anything over 1% is near impossible. So the key is, folks, is striking a balance. How do we take all of these products out there? How do we take your retirement, your 401k, the money you have in the bank, maybe a recent inheritance, and put this within an organized game plan with a retirement planning firm such as Tony Walker Financial? Why are we so unique, and why do we have so many savers who love our process? Well, we call it the split IRA concept. This is something I came up with years ago, and it works so well for savers because, again, we can kind of ride that line of if you want to take more risk, you can, or you can take less risk with your money. It's your call. So here's how this works. Let's imagine you have a 401k plan of a couple $100,000. We roll these over to our process all the time. But basically, we take that $200,000 401k and we make a determination how much we're going to put in our liquidity bucket, we call it, with Charles Schwab, and then how much, if any, will go into the annuity bucket. Now, again, this depends on your age. For instance, yesterday I had a gentleman in the office. He was only 45 years of age. He had just been laid off from his former employer, had already gotten another job, but he wanted to move his 401k over to our process. And he said, Tony, I'm only 45. I don't mind being like Icarus and flying a little high. I'm okay with some risk. And we said, that's fine. So in his case, we put all of the money with Charles Schwab, and we're going to manage that for him for a very low competitive fee of 0.8%. We handle everything. We make all the selections. Now, the same day yesterday, I had someone in their late 60s, and they said, Tony, I don't mind putting some of this money in this bucket and taking a little bit of risk, but partner, I don't want to go back to work. I can't be like Icarus and get up there near the sun, so we're keeping it very, very safe and secure. We're using several buckets of different annuities for different purposes to make sure that we protect that money, and also to make sure that they can kick in what I call that beloved mailbox money. So folks, if you don't have something like this, if you don't have a game plan that allows you access to your money, low fees, low risk, the ability to have mailbox money for life, I mean, why not? This is something we do day in and day out, and it's easy to find out more. All you got to do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on the Let's Get Started button, and that information will be confidentially sent to our offices, and we will arrange a phone call with me, or if it warrants, I'll be happy to meet with you at no charge in person. Good stuff coming your way. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. Warning, a licensed insurance agent with no prior knowledge of annuities can legally toss your 401k into an annuity. Don't make that mistake. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com before ever purchasing an annuity. It's been said that behind every great coach is a great team. In my 35 years of doing business in the financial world, one thing I've realized is that if you're going to specialize in something as complicated as retirement planning, you have got to have a team of service experts with different levels of expertise to help you navigate all the challenges that you're going to face. This is why I've spent years on our process and hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire the best folks to be there for my clients. At Tony Walker Financial, you can rest assured that our service just doesn't stop with the sale, it begins there. You can count on us to help you manage your retirement from now until the very end. So before you commit to just any person in the financial world, get a second opinion from us to see how our team can become your team. It is estimated that each day over 10,000 people will turn 65, which means a lot of advisors selling a lot of annuities. Don't make the mistake of buying the wrong annuity. Learn more about annuities at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, and we're talking about this concept called the Icarus syndrome and the idea of risking our money and taking unnecessary risks with it. And with us in the studio to talk about this subject matter of addictions is my favorite brother, Marty Walker, all the way from Lexington. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Marty.
Thank you for having me, Tony.
And we go back a long way, obviously, and I'm actually kind of anxious to hear from you a little bit about your counseling practice. You've been a therapist for how long now?
For 37 years.
Golly.
It's been a while.
Well, after 37 years, I get to learn exactly what you do. And before we get started, though, I didn't know if you knew we were going to do this. Folks, Marty has always been an aspiring musician and a great one at that. And it started at a very young age. We copped some pictures here. So let's turn around to the monitor, Marty. Now, this is wild. What's the one up there in the top left? How old were you there then?
5 years old, I believe. I'd just gotten my first drum set that our parents bought us, or bought me.
Yeah. I used to play those things. Not very good, but I picked up drums a little bit.
You did. You were a good drummer. Yeah.
And then over to the right, I love that. That's y'all are supposed to be impersonating the Beatles, right?
Yes, it was a first grade talent show at Glendover Elementary in Lexington. And so, yeah, we went on stage. This was us rehearsing before we went on stage.
I got a feeling you were the only one that knew how to play.
Well, they were good guys. But
Next slide, Derek. Here's a good one. There's me and you and Dad on the porch before church. You, as always, you looked excited about going to church. Look at you on the far left there.
Yeah, it took a while for me to come around to the church thing. But yeah, that's. And you're smiling though. You look good.
I was whatever. Yeah, I thought whatever. Here we go. And then I love this picture of you and Mark Davis at the Red Coach Lounge there in Lexington. That would have been the late 70s?
It was 1978, as a matter of fact.
And then we've got it, back then, I know you were trying to make it big in the entertainment world. let's take a look at what our father, Dick Walker, had to say about where he pictured you ending up one day.
Yeah, I can see it now. Playing country music in the Howard Johnsons in West Virginia.
Okay, that's a classic. He was always encouraging about our musical careers, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Of course, he had played music, and I guess he was trying to forewarn us about the pitfalls.
All right, next slide. Now, this is more current. This was actually in Lexington. What's this all about, Marty?
We actually recorded this last month because, of course, we can't do the live audience because of the COVID. But that is at First Presbyterian Church in Lexington. It's a historic church, and we're actually recording 2 Beatles songs for that.
Back to the Beatles. You
back to
started
the
your
Beatles.
life, and here you are ending as you wind down.
Full circle there. That's with my band, or my regular band I play with, the Johnson Brothers.
And then let's close. This is funny. You sent me this. This was several years ago. I didn't even know you were playing flute, man. Some Jethro Tull.
That's some Jethro Tull. That was downtown Lexington too.
Quite exciting. All right, let's get to the meat of it here, Marty. First of all, tell us, as a licensed therapist, and I know there's a lot of addictions you have to deal with, but let's talk specifically about gambling. I know it's probably not the hardest to treat, but it's got to be one of the top diseases to try to treat. What is the issue with gambling? Where does it start, and why is it so difficult to spot and treat?
Well, I think the difficulty with gambling as far as trying to treat the addiction is there's not an actual chemical going into the body. It is what we call a process addiction versus a chemical addiction. But what happens is that the same thing happens in terms of the compulsion, of the problems it causes, and the difficulty of trying to identify it is, when you see somebody intoxicated or somebody on drugs, a lot of times you can tell. You can't always tell when someone has a gambling problem that causes difficulty for themselves and their families.
And then I think you made an interesting comment before we went on talking about gambling and the addiction of it. There's also that element of a lot of those people are pretty competitive people. So there is that ability to compete.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of thrown in the mix. I guess that's kind of tough. How do you deal with that when you're treating people or thinking through that particular addiction?
Well, the competitive part of it, of a lot of the gamblers, you have to kind of break through the mental challenging of saying, wait a minute, what's the risk, what's the odds here of you winning? If you're a competitive person, the odds are actually quite slim that you're going to beat the house or beat the track or whatever the gambling might be. But there's this thing of I beat it, but you're only going to beat it every once in a while, if that. So
there's a reason those casinos are so huge and making all that money, right?
There
they
is
usually
a reason.
Win.
They're not there for charity. They're not there to give it away, So yeah.
So what are some usual treatment things? I know you sent some bullet points for us to kind of go through, identifiers, if you will. I think there's 5 of them, but kind of go through those 5, if you will, please.
Okay, well, there's actually, according to the American Psychiatric Association, there's like 12 criteria. But the main ones I center on with all addictions are basically 3 C's: compulsion, control, and consequences. The person who's addicted to any substance or gambling too has a compulsion to continue using. They just can't stop using that. C, with the consequences, they do it despite the consequences they have in their life, losing their family, losing their job. They'll continue to use despite adverse consequences. And then finally is the loss of control. Loss of control is, they're lost control in their lives, and they don't have any control over the addiction or the disorder. The other criteria is chasing losses. That's probably another C we could add in there. For compulsive gambler, they're continually trying to chase the loss.
I can get that back.
Yeah, I can get that back. I can win it back, and that's gets you into gambler's fallacy and some of the mental issues that go on with addiction. But that's those are the primary things you want to look at. Craving, there's another C if you want to put 5 of them here. Continuing to craving to gamble or to use, just like using a substance for an addict, they continue to want it and crave it and have an impulse to continue using it.
So somebody watching this show, and I know we even have probably some clients, betting on the ponies occasionally or whatever, it's okay, I guess, to occasionally do that, but when do you know, wait a minute, I may have a problem here?
Well, and I myself, if anybody knows me, they know I like to go bet a race at the Red Mile in Lexington or Keenan. I'm kind of far into harness racing. But I think what the key is, you take a limit of what you're going to spend. I'm going to spend $20 a day, and if I lose it, that's my entertainment for the day.
Good point.
But if you're continuing going past that, and you're chasing it in the ATM or getting money off of it, and you continue to keep using, and then you can't afford that. It's one thing if you have a lot of money, you can afford it. If you can't afford it, of course, gamblers can't. That's when you know you probably got an issue here. Your family financial statements start going downhill and that kind of thing. So,
well, Marty, it's been a pleasure. I'm sorry we're running out of time. I've loved talking about this. I don't know, in 37 years why we haven't talked more about it. Interesting stuff, and I'm glad you got both the music career and the counseling career going. You've done a great job, and real proud of you. So thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for having me.
Have a good day, folks. We'll be right back. I am retirement specialist Tony Walker, and I just wanted to take just a couple of minutes to share with you a little bit about my story, my history in this business, and how we've become so successful in helping savers worry less about money. You know, over the past 35 years, I didn't always focus on the saver personality, as I like to call it. Years ago, I used to do a lot of money management. In fact, I've been licensed to sell securities and insurance products since 1986. So I've been able to see all of the major downturns the stock market can offer. But quite frankly, the worst downturn that I experienced personally in my practice was the tragic event of 9/11. You see, right before 9/11, if you go back in time, you could throw a dart at a dartboard and pick your stocks. Everything was doing well. And I guess I took it for granted that everything would always go up. In fact, most of my clients during the 90s were in the stock market and doing very, very well, quite frankly. But then, when they flew into those Twin Towers and everything came tumbling down, not only the Twin Towers, but for 3 years in a row, the stock market went down. I realized that, you know what? I don't like risking my money, and I don't like risking the money of my clients. So following 9/11, I took about the task of trying to find a product and a process that would not only protect my clients' money, but show them how to use and enjoy it, and thus the worry-free retirement process was born. Now, just to clear up some confusion, a lot of people know that we do a lot of annuities. In fact, some people kid in my business, call me the annuity king, because personally I've written about as many annuities as anybody in the country. So yes, I love fixed annuities, fixed indexed annuities, and fixed interest annuities. By the way, sometimes people will talk about variable annuities. We do not do variable annuities due to the risk and high fees associated with them. But besides writing a ton of annuities, I still have my roots buried in the investment world. So contrary to what many of our competitors might say, we do provide a great investment platform, one of the lowest cost investment platforms in the industry, currently using Charles Schwab as our custodian. So not only do you get myself with 35 years of experience, but you also get varying products. You get annuities. We offer life insurance. We have investment products through our Charles Schwab platform, and most importantly, you get a team of service experts that's going to be with you in retirement long after the sale. You see, folks, retirement is not just a one-shot deal. You don't leave your employer and roll your 401k over to somebody and say, I've got a retirement plan. Retirement planning is much, much more. In fact, there's a huge difference between a retirement planning specialist such as us and maybe what you would call a wealth manager or money manager or even a financial advisor. So not only are we fiduciaries, but all we do is retirement planning. So if that sounds like you, if you feel like nobody's really in your corner, if you don't have a written game plan that you can follow and monitor, if you feel like maybe you got too much money at risk, or that your advisor is not really paying close attention to the details of taxes and fees and Social Security, all that goes into understanding retirement planning, why don't you give us an opportunity? There's no cost or obligation to meet with me in person. If you're retired or nearing retirement, we can help. So why don't you just click on the Let's Get Started button, and when you click on that button, here's what's going to happen. Your information is confidentially sent to our office. We don't share that information with outsiders whatsoever. You will be then contacted and arrange either a phone call with myself or to meet in person to discuss your situation. Well, I look forward to talking to you soon. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. In Matthew 25:14, we see an interesting scene play out between a master who is getting ready to take a long trip and three of his slaves, and who the master decides to entrust his money while he's on vacation. In verse 15, we see the following amounts of money rationed out this way. To one slave, the master gives 5 talents to invest while he's away. To the second slave, the master gives 2 talents, and to the third, the master only provides 1 talent. So how well does each slave invest the master's money? Well, the one who was given the 5 talents doubles the money to 5 more talents. Pretty good. The second slave does the same thing. He invests the 2 talents and brings back 2 more. The third slave, well, that's another story. Apparently, out of fear and complacency, he doesn't even invest the money, but instead buries it in the backyard. In other words, he takes absolutely nothing of the master's money and invests it. 0. And the master's response to this slave's fear and complacency in verse 27, he says the following: "Then you ought to have put my money in the bank, and on my arrival, I would have at least received my money back with interest." Folks, here's how I see this. Being a good steward of what God has given to you is a matter of first knowing what you are capable of, and then doing the best on your part to deal with it. It's really pretty simple. To which you might say, well, Tony, that was easy back in Jesus' day when you could get 6 or 7% at the bank, but what about now when they're paying next to nothing in interest? Where am I supposed to invest my money? Well, that's where we step in at Tony Walker Financial. You see, as fiduciaries, we take a balanced approach to dealing with our clients' money. That's because we only work with savers, people who are concerned with the return of their money as opposed to blindly putting it at risk. We understand how to avoid a lot of unnecessary risk while at the same time doing our best to earn you some decent interest on your money. Equipped with our proprietary software designed for savers, along with a team of local service experts trained in the art of retirement planning, we can show you how to not fly too high nor fly too low. We can show you how to use and enjoy your money before it's too late and without the fear of running out of it. So here's the key. You can fly too high and take a bunch of risk or do nothing. It's your choice. But here's what I suggest. Right now, why don't you log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Once you click there, your information is confidentially sent to our offices. We do not share that with anyone outside Tony Walker Financial. You will then be contacted to either meet with me by phone or in person. That's right. There's absolutely no cost, no fee. It's absolutely free. And you can talk to the owner of Tony Walker Financial, someone who has more than 36 years of financial experience. Do it today. Take advantage of meeting with me by phone or in person. Again, just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. You know what, though? We're going to go to part 2 and talk a little bit more about this Icarus fella, but also what happens as you get older and why you better be even more careful about risking your money. Good stuff coming your way, but you remember, between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.